So, Chris, every time we interview somebody, we always say the same question: is if you could sum your career up in one word, how would you describe it?
Um, yeah, I don't know if I've ever thought about that. I guess I guess I'd have to say something along the lines of fulfilled or satisfied. Um, there's always things that I think I think a lot of people, there's always things more that you would have wanted to do in the business. But when it comes right down to it, um, from where I started and what my goals were, um, I achieved a lot of them. So, looking back on it, I could feel nothing but um, just proud and fulfilled with what I have accomplished.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, Jordan, I mean, we followed his career quite pretty well. We know this guy absolutely really well, don't we?
Definitely, man. I'd say that. Probably one of the most decorated tag teams there has ever been in TNA.
Yeah.
So let's get down to it. So, American Most Wanted. How did that name come about, Chris?
Um, Storm and I had been teaming for a number of weeks, and it actually came from him. And he tells the story that because we had hung out many times where uh, where TNA started in Nashville, and we were out one night, and um, I don't remember the situation. He probably has more details on it, but um, basically there was something going on, but and police were called, and we were all fine and safe, and um, no trouble on our part, but the cops knew us, and I think one of them made a comment about, you guys better be careful. You're going to wind up on America's Most Wanted.
Oh, wow.
And I guess that kind of stuck to Storm. And he mentioned it to me. And when he told it to me, I loved that name. And so we just really tried to push that. And the TNA officials were reluctant with that because of the copyright with the TV show. And, which is valid. But we just kept pushing it. And um, there were just little pieces we would throw in every so often. We were real. We had AMW on the back of our trunks, our wrestling trunks, and that we just kind of slid that in there to see if they would say anything about that, and we would mention it to different people. We were real close with Mike Tenay, who was the commentator, and Mike loved it, and so every so often Mike would kind of slide it in on commentating about America's Most Wanted, and still nothing said, and then it got to a point where we were tight with Jeremy Borash as well, who was ring announcing at that time, and he had always announced us as Harrison Storm, and it got to the point where it was just kind of working, and he started announcing us as America's Most Wanted, and again, it just kind of went, and nothing ever happened from it. So yeah, it just caught on, and it was a strong name, and we just went with it, man, and the crowd loved it.
Awesome. Over to you, William.
I want to ask, what do you think the key is to a good tag team? What do you think makes a good tag team, in your opinion?
Oh wow, there's so many different variations. I mean, the chemistry is one thing. Storm and I always had good chemistry in the ring, whether as opponents or a tag team. But you have to have a real good tag team. It always helps if you like your partner. that I think we've all heard stories where there was partners paired up that didn't really get along or didn't hang out, or I'm not saying it's a requirement, but it definitely helps when you're friends, and you kind of you pal around. So I think that helps. you have to really understand the art of tag team wrestling. There's so much more to it than just tagging in and out. And I think if the workers, if the wrestlers understand the art of the tag team wrestling, there's so much more you can do in a match than you can in a singles. I've said for years that I'm such a fan of tag team wrestling because there's twice as much you can do with four guys as opposed to two guys. You can make the match that much more exciting. So just so many different variables that go into that. But those are a few that I would label up there. But yeah, it's just there's so much more that guys can put into a tag team to make it to make it a real team, and to make it a go as one of the best tag teams there is.
Okay, Jordan, back to you, bro.
So, what would you say the foundations of TNA when it first started? What would you say that was like compared to now?
What do you mean, like the locker room or the
Yeah, the
company?
locker room.
The locker room. Well, I mean, it's hard to compare it to what it is now. I mean, I'm not there right now, so. But you just had a hungry locker room. You got a brand new company. Everybody wants to make a name for themselves. Um, you know, and I think the magic of the beginning of it was, you had such young, hungry, talented um, newcomers that are striving to make a name for themselves. While with a brand new company, you need that star power. So we had established stars that are wanting to attach their name to a company that can do something big, that can make something out of it. So we just had a great mixture of that coming in, and we had great leadership with Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett. Definitely they knew, they had proved that they knew what they were doing. This was a new thing for Jeff, but he had already had years in the business. Jerry had run successful wrestling organizations. Um, and then, behind the scenes, we had Bob Ryder. A lot of people don't know about Bob, but he was a master behind the scenes. Just whether it's getting the contracts involved, getting those organized, or he was in charge of the travel. Just things like that. You need a guy on the inside to really know what they're doing. So we just had a great group of people surrounding us that really wanted to make this a success. And as it went on, it only grew. As far as the talent goes, it only grew. We had a lot of the X division stood out and kind of put TNA on the map as being something so different, and that grew into and Storm and I did with the tag teams, and eventually we had the knockouts. They became such a vital part of the show. So the locker room, I just feel like has always been um, a group of people that are just really, even though TNA's been around over 20 years now, they're still striving to make it bigger and better. And anytime I'm back there, I see that with the guys now, the guys and girls, and and I've still have friends there today. But it's just a lot of people describe it as a family. That family atmosphere, that great group where everybody wants everybody to do great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over to you, Liam.
Absolutely, and stuff like that. So, what do you think to the partnership, obviously with TNA and obviously WWE at the moment? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's been great. To get any kind of exposure for TNA has been. We knew that would be great, and uh, it's turned out it's gotten more eyes on the product. TNA is thriving. I still feel like it was already on its way even before the partnership. They were just the business was booming. Their houses were getting bigger. They were just you could just tell that there was something going on. And I think the partnership with WWE, while there was a part of me, maybe still, concerned, because you just never know what's going to happen. it's a partnership right now. But if WWE gets any more control, I mean, would TNA go away? There's a lot of us that would never want that to happen. So I think the partnership has been very successful. I think a lot of people have been happy with that. Hopefully that continues, and it can continue to be great. And we have the cross promotion with NXT, and then extra exposure on some of the bigger events for TNA guys, girls. But I think it's great so far. I just I always worry how far that would go. If it could be another big number two, or if if WWE wants to slowly get rid of all of them. You just never know. There's so many things out there that could happen that we just don't know. But as of right now, I think it's turned out to be really good. Anything that gets more eyes on TNA, and the fact that TNA is where it is now, 20 something years later. If anybody checked out that Australia event, the fact that we have the crowd in Australia chanting TNA in the middle, for a match, that says something to me, man. That excites me to hear something like that. So far it's been really good, man. I hope it's all positive from here on out.
100%.
Jordan, back to you, bro.
So teaming with James Storm, that was like 5-6 years part of your life. Whose idea was that to come to an end?
I think it was a group effort. Storm and I had always thought about making a singles run, but the times that it had been brought up in the past, we tried to fight through it because we just felt like there was so much more America's Most Wanted could do. So we really pushed through that and wanted to get the full amount of time that we could with America's Most Wanted, and just do everything that we possibly could. And so when it was time, it was just it was a group effort. Everybody seemed to be on board with it, and Storm and I, we'd had a great coming off a great heel run, which was some of the most fun we'd had. So then we spent about a year, close to a year, where going against each other, but the company was on board with it. So it seemed like it was time to try something new, and let's see where it goes. And I guess in the long run, you could always come back to it, but we were going to see where Storm and I could do to go out on our own. And, we both had the confidence that we could do that. And as long as the company was behind us, then, it would have been great.
Awesome. William, over to you.
Absolutely. So I want to talk obviously about Gail Kim. How did obviously she ended up obviously in the America's Most Wanted?
How was she what?
How did she end up obviously in the group?
So right when Gail was brought in, I'm gonna say maybe 05, or maybe it was 06. We really hadn't taken off with the knockouts division yet, and Gail was, I mean, in my opinion, she's one of the all around greatest women wrestlers out there, and she of course had that hunger to be in the ring to prove it, and with very little women's wrestling at that time, it just seemed like a great place. We had just turned heel. We had aligned ourselves with Jeff Jarrett, and it just seemed like a great fit. And while we never really thought about having a manager, valet, by our side, it was kind of the ingredient that we didn't know we were missing. She was such a great addition to us, and it just kind of it made that whole package. And we were able to do so much more with her, especially during that heel run, where she was on the outside, and and she was involved in the matches. It became so much fun. I think she really enjoyed her time with that. Um, I worked side by side with her, made sure that, anytime we were having matches that, she knew exactly what was going on. And I'd sit down with her and, um, fill her in as if it was her match. And so I think she had fun with that, but her real heart was being in the ring. So along those times is when we really started to develop the knockouts division, centered around her really. We had Awesome Kong and Jackie Moore was there. So it really started coming together. Tracy Brooks had been around for a while. ODB was there, so it was coming around, and it was just about around that time where when America's Most Wanted was starting to split, that the knockouts division was about to explode, and it was a perfect setup for her.
Okay.
Awesome,
Jordan, back to you, bro.
So how did it come about you impostoring as Sting in WCW?
What was that again? I'm sorry, I lost you.
Sorry, how did it come about you impostoring Sting in WCW?
Yeah, wow, what a great experience that was. So I was brought in. It was around the last year. WCW was around 2000, and I was brought in with a group, and we mostly did security work. We were also having matches on like their Saturday night show, WCW Saturday Night, WCW Worldwide, which was a Sunday show. But on the Nitro and Thunders, we were uh, we were doing security, and we got to know everybody, and everybody was familiar with us, and they were giving us the platform on the weekend shows to show what we were doing. So people knew me and knew who I was, and there was just a somewhat of a resemblance to Sting. And I can't remember if he took some time off, and when I say time, I just mean like just weeks, where he wasn't there, or if he was injured. Um, but it became more than just one occasion, and I think it started with the Halloween Havoc of 2000, and it was Jeff Jarrett versus Sting, and they had a variety of Stings, like just different through the years, of different types of Stings. The Surfer Sting and the Crow Sting and the Red and Black NWO Sting, just things like that. And I resembled the Crow Sting with we had similar body types, but I had the hair for it. And so I was chosen to do that one, and turned out that was one of the most significant ones because I was the one that came up from under the ring, through the mat, and I actually had a battle with Sting and hit him over the head with Jeff's guitar. So what a thrill that was, to be able to work with. That was one of the first times I'd worked with Jeff Jarrett, and definitely Sting. And Sting was actually the one that painted my face, for some of those. So crazy time, but I got to do that, and then after that took off. Like I said, when times when he wasn't there, I think one program he had was with Vampiro, and there were some times where they would put me in the rafters. So I actually was up in the rafters, and they would shine the spotlight up there, but we would have it to the point where you couldn't really tell if it was me or not. And then there were times. I remember one time in the arena, I came out of a coffin, and I think I was beating on Vampiro with the bat, and but they had the strobe light hitting so much that you really couldn't get a good look at Sting to be able to tell a difference. So little things like that. So there were a number of times where I did it, and me being at that point in my career, I'm having televised matches in WCW. I'm on big shows doing security, and then now I'm doing something like this with Sting. Working with some of the top stars. So it was a real thrill for me to be able to do that and to be able to work with those guys. And it's still, one of my greatest accomplishments in my career.
That's an exciting time, and you must have enjoyed that. Imagine like the early stages of your career as well, working with Sting and WCW. Not many people can say that they work for WCW as well. Obviously, like you, Liam.
Absolutely. So I want to talk obviously about your WWE run. How did that all come about?
Well, there had been the last couple contracts Storm and I had. There was always talk about it, but the bottom line is Storm and I were happy with TNA and happy with the opportunity. But you always got to explore your options, and it was just something where we always decided to stay together. And we had split somewhere. I think it was end of 06 or 07, and then we had so we were split by that point, and contract was coming to an end, and again, just exploring options. And I had heard that there was interest. I wanted to make sure before I even did anything that there was any interest, and I was told that they were very interested. So, um, I bottom line is I really wanted to stay with TNA, but at the time, I was looking at the creative and seeing what we were doing, and I had just started my singles run, and there just wasn't a whole lot going on at the time. I had a great run with Storm. That even went into a short run with Christian, which I really enjoyed. And then I went with Dustin Rhodes. He was trying the character of Black Rain out, and we did a little something. So I felt like I was on a great path. But then it just towards the end of 07, it just kind of wasn't going anywhere, and I don't think they had any plans. I would try to talk to whether it's Vince or Jeff or somebody just to try to find out what direction we were going. I'm not sure if they even were aware of the whole contract thing, but um, we did a couple TV things with Kurt Angle. I mean, there was just so many what ifs at that point. And when we started negotiating the contract, um, there was it wasn't just and I think I don't know how much is out there, but a lot of these guys kind of went through this as they made their exit out of TNA. But where the company is growing and getting bigger, and um, when it comes time to re-up the contract, you're faced with a low ball offer, and I was really disappointed with that. They were offering me kind of less than what I was already making, and um, I kind of looked at that as like, what how valuable do they really think I am? And they're not really doing a whole lot with me. And at that point, I think I was 35, so I was looking at my age. I was looking, there was a lot of different factors to look into, and it was just one of those decisions where you never know whether it's the right or wrong, or um, I tried to really put some thought into it, and you know praying about it, and it was just one of those things where when I knew what was offered on the other side, it was one of those times where you just bet on yourself. I felt like this might be my opportunity to go, and you never know when the right time is. So it was a decision where I said, okay, let's give this a shot. If TNA is not really making an effort to keep me around, then maybe we'll just see where this goes. So that's where kind of where my decisions were lying, and I've just bet on myself and said let's give this a shot, see where it goes.
Okay, John, about to you, bro.
So fast forward a couple of years later from 2007, and then you get the call to come back for a tag match against Beer Money to team with Matt Hardy. How did that come about?
I had definitely been in contact with him because I would have loved to have come back. So I will certainly admit that I was looking for a chance to come back, and I think the right maybe the right storyline came about. I was contacted by Terry Taylor, and Vince was writing, and it was Vince's idea, but I can't remember what was going on with Jeff at the time. There was such a number of things over the years. But Beer Money was off and running and having a very successful run. I believe Matt and Jeff were. I know they were there, but I'm assuming they were. I can't remember the particulars at the time, but I know that there was something going on where Matt needed a partner, and I think the fingers were pointing to where it was going to be Jeff, and then Matt brought me out to where they try to pinpoint on the history that it was somebody that knew Storm better than anybody, and we were going to try to ride that out, and so I was just thankful for the opportunity to get back in the door, willing to work myself up. I mean, the story was written by itself. It was laid out, but to be able to have that opportunity to come in, and it just turned out to be short lived. We had a few matches, Matt and I against Beer Money, and we wound up doing it on a pay per view. And but then that was kind of it. It was laid out to me that there was more to it that I was very excited with. In fact, I think it was going to lead to somehow down the road Storm and I teaming up again together. But it just never materialized. So but yeah, I was happy to be back. I mean, it was TNA is where I belong. So I was very happy to have that opportunity back.
Awesome. Over to you, Liam.
Absolutely. So, what's some of obviously your personal favorite matches? What's some of your favorite, like your top 3 matches?
Yeah, I've been asked that, and that's so hard to come up with, man. So because I have a list of singles matches, I have a list of tag matches, and there's so many favorites that just weren't high profile, but so many of the high profile stuck out. So, as far as tag teams, I think our most high profile matches probably had to do with had to be with Triple X. We had 2 cage matches with them that were incredible. So I would have to say that 2 of those, at least definitely the 6 Sides of Steel, would have to be on that list. It was I don't know about any one particular, but I feel like we one of those on the list would have had to been with Team 3D. With the Dudley Boys coming into TNA. We had a number of stars come in to give credibility. Really, is what it was doing to TNA to have such big stars coming in the past. Whether it was Sting or Christian or Kurt Angle came in, but what was so incredible about the Dudleys coming in was it gave credibility to the tag team division, and so the angle was right there for us. We had just turned heel. Here come Team 3D. So we had a series of great matches with those guys. And I'd have to put on there our matches with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. While they weren't a team for a long time, we just had great matches with those guys. And there was a particular Slammiversary, I'm guessing it was 06, Slammiversary 06, when they finally won the belts from us. That was probably one of my favorite matches. And So with Triple X, AJ, and Daniels, I would actually have to also put on there a match with Team Canada. And a lot of people have kind of forgotten about this, but it was right after the Six Sides of Steel, and it was I think it was maybe a turning point or a final resolution. I really can't remember, but so I'm not exactly sure. But it was Bobby Roode and Eric Young, two of my favorite guys. Two great workers, and we had just an incredible match with those guys. So those are three of my tag favorites. My singles, I'd have to say Storm. I'd have to say Jeff Jarrett. Wow. Uh, and even though this wasn't high profile on television, because we were in separate uh, journeys, I came up in the business with Abyss. And while he was making his run in singles and I was doing mine in tag teams, we had for years we traveled together and had so many matches together, and they were always just phenomenal matches with Abyss and I. We had great chemistry, and we've all heard how great that guy really is. So he would have to be on my list of top three singles guys that I ever worked with.
Okay, John, about to you, bro.
Who would you say, Chris, is the TNA Mount Rushmore? So who's the four guys that, whether that can be over the last 25 years, whether that's the last 5 years that you see, who's the guys that when
Yeah, I've thought
someone
about
says
this because I've heard this question posed to other people. Yeah, I would definitely put AJ on there. I'd put Jeff on there. A lot of people put Abyss on there. I don't think that's a bad choice at all. I'd have to put Kurt Angle on there too, because I feel like up until we were doing really well, and the company was strong, and we were showing people that we were there to stay and for real. But when Kurt showed up, it just took us to a whole different level when Kurt Angle showed up. And Kurt wasn't one of those guys. And I won't name names, but he wasn't one of those big name players that came in just to make some money and finish off his career or anything like that. Kurt was in the prime of his career. I think you can make an argument that Kurt's best matches were in TNA. So when he came into TNA, he completely was willing to put TNA on his back and take it to the next level. So I really think Kurt deserves a spot on there. Kurt, Jeff, for so many reasons, just putting on his shoulders to start this thing. AJ was the crown jewel for so many years, and then I'd go with Abyss as well. He's a homegrown talent that he showed his loyalty and with the company, and just there was nothing that was put in front of that guy that he couldn't accomplish. So that'd be my Mount Rushmore.
Awesome. Liam, over to you.
So throughout your whole career and stuff like that, what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Oh, man, I've had so many guys that I've listened to. Man, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you guys. I'd listen to so many good teachings of guys like Kurt Hennig and Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express, and wow, I don't know, man. I don't have any magic words here. Just little pieces of advice from each person. I just tried to take from any any piece of advice from the guys that had paved the road for us and that had been there and established and that had made a career out of this, I was willing to listen to those guys because I wanted what they had. And that's the advice that I would give now is to, I think we don't have that as much nowadays. I think they should, that, the generation today should listen to and be open to ideas from the guys that have been there and that have done it for so many years. And, a lot of times unfortunately, so many of the guys nowadays want to kind of do it their own way, and they think they've figured out a new better way. And when I came around, I was listening. I wanted to soak everything in and do it like that, and that's the way I try to pass it on too. So yeah, I can't, no words of wisdom really jump in right now, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Completely fine. No problem. Jordan, back to you, bro.
Who would you say is the top 3 best tag teams today, in your opinion?
Today, I would in the top 3, I would have to put FTR. That's one tag team that I really enjoy watching, and I have for years. Those are one of the guys. Of course, I'm old school, so when I watch those guys get to go out and perform at their best, that's when you get that art that I was talking about earlier. They know the art of tag team wrestling, and it's because they listened to some of the old timers and knew how to do it and when to do it. And I just really enjoy their matches. Let's see. Here as of late, I've kind of gotten on the Hardy bandwagon. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but just the fact that they've put in the years that they have, and to see them still doing it at, I can even say our age because we're all around the same age, but to see them, I guess this is more on a personal level, but to see them work more smart than hard now, if that makes any sense. They put in the years of working their ass off, working hard, and now it's like we can look at them and you might, if you want to say they've lost a step or you want to be negative about it, I look at it as a positive. Like, look how great they still are because of how smart they're working. They don't have to do everything that they did before, but they can still capture the crowd the way they do. And so for a variety of reasons, I've really enjoyed watching those guys. And then here is in past few years, we haven't seen them much lately, but they pop in and out everywhere, it seems like. But the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Gallows, I just have really enjoyed watching those guys over the years, and everywhere they go, they seem to, really stand out, make a name for themselves. And, Carl Anderson and I came from the same area, trained the same place. And here, in the future, we have some of our first matches with those guys. So looking forward to that. But yeah, in the current state, that's kind of what I would say. I mean, probably there's probably others you could name that I would jump on, but those are the ones that kind of stand out to me right now.
Awesome, man. Over to you, Will.
Yep. So obviously, I was feeling more questions, mate, as we begin to wind down and stuff like that. For you now, how do you want to be remembered in wrestling?
Well, as far as the inside the business, I'd like my peers to remember me as a great worker. Something that anytime they were in the ring with me, that they knew that they were comfortable having a great match. And no easy to work with. I pretty much got along with everybody. At least I tried to. As far as the fans, and I do get a lot of feedback on this that makes me feel great, but just some of the great tag team matches that we gave them, at a point, when America's Most Wanted first came around, really WWE was the only game in town. And it was at a point where they weren't pushing a lot of tag teams. If there were tag team matches, it was a lot of singles guys teamed up for a short period of time. And so we kind of lost the idea of what good tag team wrestling was. I think we kind of lost it a little in the the 90s a little bit, and then we got a little resurgence with I'd like to say, with the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, Hardys. I think we all remember that period of time, and they really took it to a whole different level. But then we kind of lost it again, and it just became a bunch of singles guys teaming up. And so the opportunity that Storm and I, when we came around, it was like we showed people what tag team wrestling was all about and how exciting it can really be. And for people to tell me that they remember those matches or they remember those feelings and how the emotion that they would get, that's what I love to get out of it, is when people can tell me that they remember that those matches or that period of time. That TNA is still going strong, and who knows how great it can get with the partnership with WWE. But I love it when I get to meet the fans and they tell me about that period of time, because it was just the beginning period where there was growing pains, but we were making something work. And so I really that gives me such a great proud feeling, that the fans can walk away with that.
Okay, John, you want to wrap this up, pal?
Yeah, Chris, thank you for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it. I do apologise that we're going to have to wrap it up. My phone's literally and computer's about to die. But thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate your time. Do you know what? Massive fan of your work. We need to get you and Storm over here to compete in the UK. That is a must.
I would love it, man. Him and I have talked about it. I know he's been over there a number of times, but I would love to get over there with you guys. And I appreciate you having me on, guys. I appreciate. Sorry for the delays. I'm just with the throat injury. It's kind of been an ongoing thing, but I didn't want to hold you guys off any longer. So I'm glad we had a chance to do it, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man. No,
Thanks,
I'll let you wrap it up, man.
Take it easy, Chris. Thank you.
Cheers, Chris.